Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Hey, welcome back, everybody. It's almost weird for me to say this, but it is one of my favorite things to talk about. And when you hear what it is, you're going to be like, what is wrong with him? What's going on there? We're going to talk today about trauma. Now, why is it one of my favorite things to talk about? Because it is piloting all of our lives, and we don't even realize it. And what is it? What exactly? I mean, when you say the word trauma, a lot of us have a vision of what that is, but it may not be exactly what you're thinking. And it's steering your life in a good way, probably a bad way. It's all about energy. And that's what she helps people with and understand all of this stuff. And she's a Reiki master, energy work practitioner, so much more. Rima Wardini is back with us. How are you doing today?
Hi, Steve. I'm doing well. Hope you're well as well.
And I want to shout out to your dog.
I'm sorry about that. Well, we love our furry friends. So
I will tell you firsthand, my dog Tanner would be sitting right here next to me, and he's awesome. He's quiet. It's all good. But for some reason, the air conditioning heating system in this building has a weird noise when it turns on. It just goes for just a second. Oh. And it freaks him out, and he gets all nervous. Like it's almost like a thunderstorm coming. So
mine is like a tiny little thing that thinks that she's like a big guard dog. So
Sure.
Anything she sees from the window, she starts barking. So you may hear her. I'm sorry about that.
It's all good. You know what? The bark is fantastic. I would have never known that she's a little thing. It sounds medium-sized dog.
Little thing, little thing, my little baby.
So when we talk about this thing called trauma.
Okay.
How do you define it?
Okay, so trauma is very wide for many people. So depending on people, but the trauma let me take you a bit back into the trauma is not just an emotional or mental experience itself. It's not something that we have just mentally or physically experienced. It often becomes trapped in the body. So it could be anything that we hear, anything that we have lived, that will be simply trapped in the body. So it's not like you're living it and then it's gone. So what happens is that it remains within your cellular memory, what we call. Mm-hmm. And this is consciously, you're not necessarily aware of it. But every single time that something happens or you hear something, an emotion, a deep emotion comes up. And you're not really sure where it comes from. Because often enough, we kind of forget mentally about it. But it's still trapped within the body. And a good example of seeing it is more like seeing your body like a computer, right? And seeing like the traumatic experience as being a virus that is downloaded into your system. So basically, when that traumatic experience is not consciously there, however, it's in the background. The virus is still running within your files and it's in the background. So if you don't open that file and release it, anything that will happen around you will come and trigger something within your body and will come. It's as if you're reliving that experience. Also, you don't know, although you're not really aware of what it was. And these traumatic experiences, like we talked about briefly before in the first podcast, could be anything that has to do with intergenerational traumas. It could be past lives. It could be from this lifetime. And Steve, do you know what the first traumatic experience that we have within this lifetime? And everybody has the same one.
Birth?
Birth. Absolutely. It's birth. It's like cutting the cord from the womb, getting out of this, tunnel to be in this new world, and then cutting the cord from your mom is the first traumatic experience. And we all go through it. And that's why now we're more conscious about how the birthing process needs to be. To take more time with the baby, to be holding the baby before cutting the cord. There's a lot of things that we're more conscious of to at least diminish the amount of trauma that could happen through that first.
Wow. In all my studying of energy and trauma, and all of this, I never considered that. And yes, we all hear about bonding with the baby and how it's changed over the years. Yeah. When my mother gave birth to me and my twin sister, back then they knocked you out. You weren't even awake for it. But that is a trauma. And then what happens? Now the cord is cut and they swat you on their butt.
Exactly, to give you the first breath.
Yeah, it's like, welcome to the world. You know? Interesting. I'm glad you said that trauma gets into the cellular level, because I've only heard that and really kind of processed that in the last year or so. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing when you think about it, what it's doing to you.
Yeah.
What it's really doing.
Basically, the first signs, well, we're going through it a lot right now. It's a lot of illnesses. You have illness that happens. You have anxiety. You have depression. You feel stuck. Although you've done all the emotional work around it, you still feel stuck some way, somehow. So there's, like I said, there's deeper layers, right? There's that onion that you're unpeeling and unpeeling. It's getting to the core of it. The thing that we need to understand as well is that we should just understand that it's there. Once we understand that it's there, it's not for us to dwell on it. It's for us to find something to do about it. It's for us to know that there's sources, resources, and there's techniques that can be used to come to that bottom and help you release what needs to be. And, it goes back to, I think sometimes about people that have phobia of things that they haven't, phobia from water, but they never drowned in this lifetime. They never really, nothing traumatic happened in the water in this lifetime. But just to tell you how deep it could go, it most probably was from past lifetimes, where maybe the person passed away through drowning. So in this lifetime, that person still has that memory in their system, right? So the goal of all of this is to just understand. I want people to understand that there are things to be done to help you get through this and release, so you could feel more free and more in harmony within your body, mind, and soul.
It can be anything when we talk about trauma, and I describe it as a big T or a little t.
Absolutely.
And the little t trauma could be you're that 5-year-old walking past a room in your house and somebody says something, could be one parent. They're not talking to you. There's a conversation going on, but you pass by and you heard it. And then as a little kid, you internalize it. Maybe you thought it was for you. Maybe it scared you. And now you held on to it. And now that's with you for the rest of your life. And that could be putting up blocks, preventing you from moving a certain part of your life together.
Absolutely.
Whereby another kid could walk by, same exact situation, doesn't bother them. Ain't even here, whatever. Or they did, and one ear out the other. It all depends on the individual. So when we talk about these traumas, when you do the work and you work to clear the traumas out, do you find that when things come up, you may not totally get rid of it, but when things come up, you can recover quicker. You realize it and recover quicker.
Absolutely. And I think I would say the first experience is the hardest. Once you go through that first experience is always the hardest one. You're like peeling off that big Band-Aid.
Well, there's a song that's been done at least twice. Rod Stewart did one version of it. Sheryl Crow did another version of it. The first cut is the deepest.
Yes, it's the deepest. It's so true. And it is.
Yeah, I never thought of it.
The first healing is often the hardest.
Right.
Also. Because it's scary. Because what's happening is that your body's trying to release something that has been hidden for so long.
Right.
So things can come up to the surface and you kind of start reacting to it. But what I like to call that is a healing crisis. That's what's happening. It's a healing crisis. Whatever is in your body needs to come out. So it's going to come out in different ways.
Sure.
So, I have this colleague of mine when we were working on functional medicine. She was talking about her own experience that she had for the longest time allergies to strawberries, and she couldn't find the reason why she had that allergy. And then once she went into the healing ground, she saw a vision of herself eating a strawberry while her parents were telling her that they were getting divorced. And that allergy started since that time when she was 5 years old. Just to tell you the power of when she put her finger on it, the allergies disappeared. That's how powerful it is. It's insane. It's
I don't even know words.
Yeah.
But that crystallized everything for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So that goes, that the same example as you, that little boy or little girl that's passing by, like at 5 years old, hearing something that triggers them. So she was able to go back to that memory that she completely forgot, that she completely put in the back, and understand a bit more what's really going on. And once she understood it, she was able to release it.
Wow. Seriously, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because it honestly makes this clear.
Yeah. Well, I hope it makes it clear to a lot of people, because this is...
No, that one did. That example. And I've heard lots of examples, but that one, it really does, because traumatic experience as a child, to hear that. It's been described to me, I've heard this before, it's like throwing your kid under an emotional bus.
Exactly.
At that moment.
Exactly.
So then,
and the goal,
but we don't think about, when you're delivering that message, what's going on around them, and they don't know. They're kids. They have the strawberry thing. Whoa. I want to ask you. Well, I'm going a little deeper here. When you figured this stuff out, did you immediately identify what were traumas for you as a kid?
No.
Wow.
Not immediately. Not immediately, because I wasn't ready. And that's the beauty of energy work. It's never going to give you something that you're not ready for. It's going to give it to you in a very subtle ways. And sometimes it's going to be harsh. When it's harsh, it's because you're ready for it. You're ready to kind of receive that information. It took me years to understand the trauma that I have lived as a child, leaving my country, that is right now going through crisis. I'm Lebanese originally, and I have had to leave my country when I was 9 years old through the bombs and everything. Now I said, it's okay, it's part of life. I haven't understood it until, I would tell you, maybe 5 years ago, how deep that experience really affected me, physically, mentally, and emotionally. As a woman, as a child, as a sister, as a brother. And right now I go through these emotions in a completely different way. I go with it with a lot of compassion, and I go with it with a lot of love, instead of going with it with a lot of anger. So the anger kind of shifted into love, because I understand it more. I was able to integrate it and to release it from my own body, from my own memory. And I'm not saying it's all done, right?
Oh,
layers.
We're never done.
Yeah.
It's like it's an evolution, not a revolution. It takes time. Everything and life is constantly changing, and you may take care of some things, some traumas, and then other things show up. I remember, and this is only 3 years ago, where I made the decision to do hypnotherapy.
Okay.
And, got past all of that stuff that people worry about. Oh, you're going to control my mind. How is it going to?
Yeah.
But the first thing I said to the hypnotherapist was, let's go back to my childhood, know exactly where we're going. And I had suspicions of things there, but it made them come clearer. And I guarantee there's things that I haven't hid yet that hold a trauma or negative energy. But there's some key things, like parents divorced. I was, bullied as a big fat kid. Things like that. But I'll share something with you, if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
Things that internalize. We say that a lot of this is smaller kids. But when I was in 11th grade, I always wanted to draw. I wanted to draw cartoons. I wanted to be a cartoonist, but I wanted to do radio too. And Side note, I started drawing when I was much younger, and I believe that I did that almost instinctively as a release. That was my therapy, to draw.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And then I get to 11th grade, and I'm just, I'm painting something in the art class, and the teacher comes up to me. She goes, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? And it was a nice fall barn with the wheatgrass leading to the front of the barn, kind of rustic, and fall foliage.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't do the sky. Just wasn't coming out right." And back then I was a perfectionist. It's not coming out right. She takes the brush. She goes, "Looks great." And I said, "Thank you." And she says to me in her coffee breath, never forget that. And she was a great teacher, but she shouldn't have said this. She goes, "You know what you are? You are an underachiever."
No way.
And I still remember it. I could tell you what seat I was sitting in, where the table was, where the window was, the angle of the sun. And I believe that held me back a little bit. And maybe it pushed me forward. I don't know. But I will tell you this. That was 11th grade, 12th grade. I was named class artist and had my cartoons in the school newspaper, which was kind of big back then.
Amazing.
But those words are so powerful.
Very, very powerful. And I often say, turn your tongue. So what is that saying? Like, turn your tongue 7 times before you speak. I honestly am understanding, Steve, now as I grow older. People will always project what they are feeling inside of them.
Hurt people hurt people.
Hurt people hurt people. When you understand that, you start taking things less personal. But when you're in 11th grade, you have no idea.
Sure.
It hits you so hard, and it completely shifts your past. And whether it's positive or I'm always sure that I'm more of a positive person. So I'm always sure that it always kind of like pushes you forward. But it stopped you for a long time before you were able to kind of push through that.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's sad that teachers or people can actually go there.
Well, all of this work that you offer, I believe, and I want your feedback on this. I hate to use the word attacks. I'm trying to think of the best.
Tackles?
Tackles. We'll go with that. Tackles. Okay. Addresses. That's the word. Addresses. Okay. One common theme. And it's my understanding that we all have this, that we're not good enough. In some way, shape, and form, we've got it inside of us based on all of these traumas, and we all have traumas. It's floating out there. It's in a cellular level. So when things come up, we feel that we're not good enough. But when you do this work, you recover. I feel quicker from it. And you realize, like you just said, that it's not me, it's them, and of course, in a relationship, it takes two. I get that. But many times it's one person doing the hurting and the other person, not so much. There is a connection there. However, we can go on like on a different tangent. I always say that it's always starts from us. And that when people do things and actually impact us, the first thing that I do when I get hurt or get impacted by something somebody said is, okay, where is this hurt in me? What is actually that person? Because we're all playing a role on this planet, right? We're all playing a role, whether we're playing a role of teachers, whether we're playing a role of allies, whether we're playing a role of enemy, but often the enemy is to teach you something, whether it's playing a role of mirroring each other, right? So when you start understanding how the energy works and how we as individuals, unique individuals in a unity consciousness, we're all playing a role for each other. So what is that teacher maybe trying to say to you is that, well, I'm telling you this, but I want you to have the power to believe in yourself and say, whatever you just said is not true, because I know I'm an overachiever. So we have to just understand how this whole game of humanity and of interaction and of energy works in order for us to kind of like understand
And once you understand it, it's much easier for us not to take things personally.
This is what we're saying.
Yeah.
If there's anything you take away from today, anybody, that's it. Once you have the understanding of why you operate the way you do, why you internalize certain things, why you react to certain things, this is it. Yeah, it is. Before we get to how somebody can work with you and kind of figure this all out, don't you have books and courses?
Yes, I just came out with my ebook, my first ebook. It's all about energy alignment and all the ways to go about it and what you can use, what techniques you can use. That's my ebook, and I do have a course, an online course about everything about opening the heart. So it can be found on my website as well, and you could see all my techniques and everything that I work with. And my last module of the course is actually putting it in practice. Wow. So I work with you through breath work, meditation, a bit of yoga poses and stuff like that. So it's just to give you a hands on how you can go about opening your heart and releasing whatever needs to be released in the way, and self-love, right? Self-love. That's the most important thing.
That's another podcast topic, and so important.
Yeah.
So yeah,
crucial.
And you don't know it until you know it, but once you know it, it's like life is good now. I thought this is the way it's supposed to be.
Exactly.
And I get it. Like, this is kind of woo-woo stuff for a lot of people. I understand. I get it. But take the step. Look into it. It's life-changing, and it's life-changing the way life should be.
Yes.
What it is.
And Steve, like, there's the beauty of energy work is that it does not do anything bad. Worst thing that could happen is that it's not going to do anything at all.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. So I definitely encourage people to dig deeper and to understand a bit more of the options that they have.
You have nothing to lose. And, a lot of us gravitate toward things that make us feel better, whatever that is. You're wasting money on that. Why don't you get to the root cause of it and feel better? Rima, what's the best way to find you?
You could find me on my website, www.wholestik.com, WHOLESTIK. And you could also find me on IG, r.wardini, r.wardini as well. And you could DM me, ask me any questions you have. I'll be more than happy to answer.
When I see your name, Wardini, it reminds me of Houdini.
Houdini, I know.
And it's because you're magical in terms of transforming lives. Thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate everything, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Steve. Have a wonderful day.
You too. We'll be right back. Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.